What would you do if you saw a fortune walk right past you and nobody noticed? Tonight, we follow the story of a man who did more than just dream. He mopped the floors, emptied the trash, and watched the powerful come and go. For 3 long years, he studied their routines, the schedules of private jets, and the quiet corners where money moved unseen. Then, one stormy night, lightning hit, alarms blared, and in that chaos, he vanished. 2 duffel bags, $4 million in cartel cash. One man who turned invisibility into the perfect getaway. By morning, his locker was empty, his ID card was left behind, and the security cameras conveniently blurred by the storm. The cartel wanted blood, the city wanted answers. But he was gone like smoke in the rain. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear isn't just a heist. It's the story of how an invisible man rewrote the rules of possibility and disappeared without a trace. April 11th, 2021, 11:47 p.m. Miami International Airport. A massive thunderstorm pounds the runway. Lightning illuminates private jets parked in the VIP terminal. Rain pours like a waterfall. Water streams down the control tower windows. At this moment, 42-year-old janitor Luis Herrera pushes his mop cart past a security guard smoking near the entrance to the privileged waiting lounge. The guard nods. Luis smiles. In 15 minutes, this man will disappear forever, taking with him 2 duffel bags filled with cartel cash. They will search for him for 3 years. They will never find him. Before I walk you through the full story, I just have a small favor to ask. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? It's always amazing to see how far this audience is reaching. Luis Herrera was invisible. That was his superpower, though he didn't know it yet. For 3 years, he had mopped floors at Miami International Airport, working the graveyard shift from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. People looked through janitors like glass. Passengers hurried past without making eye contact. Security guards treated him like furniture. Airport staff saw only the uniform, never the man wearing it. Luis was 42, an immigrant from Tegucigalpa, Honduras. His weathered hands told the story of a lifetime of manual labor. His work in Houston, dishwashing in New Orleans, factory jobs in Memphis. Each position had ended the same way: budget cuts, automation, or immigration raids that sent him running to the next city. Miami was supposed to be different. The airport job came with benefits, steady hours, and the promise of invisibility that had become Luis's greatest asset. His weathered face carried the geography of Central America. High cheekbones inherited from Mayan ancestors. Skin darkened by decades of outdoor work. Eyes that had seen too much poverty to be surprised by anything. He stood 5'6" tall and weighed 160 pounds, with the wiry strength of a man who had never owned a gym membership, but had been lifting, carrying, and moving things his entire life. 2 kids back home depended on the money he wired every month, $800 that represented half his paycheck and all of their hope. His daughter Maria was 16, brilliant in mathematics, dreaming of becoming an engineer. His son Carlos was 13, obsessed with soccer and determined to play professionally. Their mother, Luis's ex-wife Elena, had remarried a mechanic named Roberto, who treated the children well. But Luis remained their lifeline to education, opportunity, and escape from the cycle of poverty that had defined his own life. Elena had divorced Luis not from lack of love, but from exhaustion. 3 years of separation while he worked illegally in the United States, sending money home but missing birthdays, graduations, and the small daily moments that build relationships. When Roberto appeared, stable, present, kind, she made the practical choice that Luis couldn't argue with. Roberto could provide emotional support and daily care, but Luis provided the money that made everything else possible. The math was brutal and simple. Luis made $12 an hour at the airport. After taxes, his weekly paycheck was $432. His rent was $1,200 a month for a studio apartment in Haya. The kind of place where cockroaches outnumber residents, and the air conditioning worked 3 months of the year. His car was a 2007 Honda Civic with 190,000 miles, held together by prayer and duct tape. Insurance, gas, food, utilities, and basic necessities consumed most of his remaining income. The $800 he sent to Honduras each month left him with approximately $50 per week for personal expenses. Luis worked 60 hours a week when possible, picking up extra shifts whenever someone called in sick or quit. The airport had high turnover in custodial positions. The work was hard, the hours were antisocial, and the pay was barely above minimum wage. But for Luis, it represented stability. He had learned to be grateful for work that others rejected. The Miami airport's VIP terminal was Luis's regular territory. While commercial passengers dealt with long lines, TSA checkpoints, and crowded gates, wealthy clients enjoyed a different world. Marble floors, leather chairs, complimentary champagne, private security, and absolute privacy. This parallel universe existed within the same building as the commercial terminal, but felt like a different planet. Luis cleaned these spaces every night, moving like a ghost through conversations he wasn't supposed to hear. He had picked up enough English during his years in the United States to understand most discussions, and his native Spanish allowed him to follow conversations that passengers assumed were private. He learned about business deals, family problems, political corruption, and private secrets that would have fascinated journalists. But Luis kept everything to himself. Invisibility required silence. The VIP terminal handled approximately 50 private flights per week. Most passengers were legitimate corporate executives, entertainment celebrities, professional athletes, and wealthy families traveling for business or pleasure. These clients paid premium fees for privacy, convenience, and service that commercial airlines couldn't match. They arrived minutes before departure, avoided crowds and delays, and treated the airport like their personal transportation hub. But Luis had noticed certain flights that didn't match the typical VIP profile. These flights arrived only on weekends, usually Thursday through Sunday, always late at night between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. Always private jets with Mexican tail numbers operated by charter companies based in Guadalajara, Tijuana, or Mexico City. The aircraft were expensive, Gulfstreams, Bombardiers, Citations, but they weren't configured for luxury travel. The interiors had been modified to maximize cargo space rather than passenger comfort. The passengers were never families or typical business executives. They were men in expensive suits who spoke Spanish with specific regional accents. Luis recognized from his years in Central America. Cartel accents, the vocabulary, the inflection, the casual references to violence that peppered their conversations. Luis had heard these patterns before in bars and bus stations throughout Mexico and Guatemala, spoken by men who carried guns and expected obedience. These men traveled light. No luggage, no briefcases, no obvious cargo, but they always left with something. Duffel bags. Sports bags with combination locks. The bags appeared to materialize from somewhere within the airport, brought by people Luis never saw during the actual exchanges. Luis had glimpsed inside one bag during a routine cleaning 6 months earlier. Stacks of green bills bundled with rubber bands, more cash than he had ever seen in his life. Conservative estimate, $500,000, maybe more. The sight had haunted him for weeks, not because he immediately planned to steal it, but because it represented impossible wealth casually transported by people who treated money like worthless paper. The bags came from somewhere in the airport. Luis began paying attention with the methodical patience of a man who had learned that survival required understanding every detail of his environment. It took Luis 6 months to understand the operation. The Mexican flights would land at the private terminal around midnight. The passengers would head to VIP Lounge 7, a soundproof room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the tarmac. Luis was supposed to clean this lounge every night, but security always told him to skip it when the special passengers arrived. One Thursday in March, the security guard stepped outside for a cigarette break longer than usual. Luis seized the moment. He pushed his cart closer to the lounge, pretending to mop the hallway floors. Through the partially open door, he saw 3 men in suits sitting around a mahogany table. On the table were 4 large duffel bags, unzipped, filled with cash. One man was counting bills with a mechanical money counter. The sound was rhythmic, hypnotic. Another man made notes in a ledger. The third man smoked a cigar and watched the tarmac through the windows. They were waiting for something. 20 minutes later, 2 different men arrived. Americans based on their English conversation. They wore polo shirts and khakis. the kind of clothes that screamed undercover law enforcement. Except these men weren't cops. They were too relaxed, too comfortable with the Mexicans. They exchanged brief pleasantries in English. Then one of the Americans opened a briefcase. Inside were documents, passports, and what looked like shipping manifests. The Mexicans pushed 2 duffel bags across the table. The Americans took them and left through a different exit. The remaining bags stayed with the Mexicans, who finished their cigars and departed later through the main VIP entrance. Luis had witnessed a money laundering operation, probably tied to drug trafficking. The Miami airport was a washing machine for dirty cash, and he was mopping the floors around it every night. Luis Herrera made $12 an hour. After taxes, his weekly paycheck was $432. His rent was $1,200 a month for a studio apartment in Haya. His car needed new brakes. His daughter in Honduras needed dental work that would cost $3,000. His son wanted to attend university, but tuition was impossible on Luis's salary. Meanwhile, every weekend, millions of dollars passed through VIP Lounge 7. The men who controlled this money were criminals. Luis had no moral qualms about that. They destroyed communities with drugs, murdered rivals, corrupted police forces. If someone were to steal from them, the world wouldn't mourn the loss. But stealing from a cartel wasn't like robbing a bank. Banks had insurance, federal protection, and legal recourse. Cartels had enforcers, torture chambers, and unmarked graves. If Luis got caught, he wouldn't go to prison. He would simply disappear. Still, the numbers were overwhelming. In one night, he had seen at least $4 million change hands. For Luis, that represented 33 years of work, of mopping floors, sending money home, and living paycheck to paycheck. 33 years of being invisible. What if being invisible was actually an advantage? Luis spent 2 months studying the operation before he touched anything. He learned that the money exchanges happened every Thursday and Sunday night. The Mexican flights always arrived between 11:30 p.m. and midnight. The Americans usually showed up 45 minutes later. Security was tight but predictable. 2 guards in the VIP terminal, 1 roaming patrol, and cameras covering all the main entrances. The cameras were Luis's biggest concern until he realized they were also his salvation. Airport security filmed passengers and visitors, not employees. Janitors were background noise, invisible even to electronic surveillance. Luis had access to every room, every corridor, every service area in the terminal. His key card opened doors that passengers never knew existed. The service elevator was the key. It connected the VIP terminal to the maintenance level, which led to the employee parking garage through a series of tunnels originally built for utility access. Luis used this route every night to dispose of trash and retrieve cleaning supplies. No cameras monitored the service areas because they weren't considered security risks. Luis's plan was simple. Between the Mexican arrival and the American pickup, he would enter VIP Lounge 7 during the security guard's cigarette break. Take 2 of the 4 duffel bags, hide them in his janitor cart under fake trash bags, and transport them through the service elevator to the parking garage. He would load the bags into his car and drive away before anyone noticed the theft. The beauty of the plan was its simplicity. Janitors weren't searched when they left the airport. Janitor carts weren't inspected. If anyone saw Luis leaving with his cart, they would assume he was taking out trash, which from the cartel's perspective, he would be. Luis bought a used Toyota Corolla for $3,200 cash, paying in small bills over several weeks to avoid suspicion. He parked it in the employee lot far from the security cameras, in a spot he had tested during multiple dry runs. He memorized the walking time from the service elevator to his car, 4 minutes and 20 seconds. He practiced hiding objects in his janitor cart using bags of sand to simulate the weight of cash. A duffel bag full of money would weigh approximately 40 pounds. Luis's cart could hold 80 pounds of equipment plus trash, so 2 bags would fit comfortably under his normal supplies. He studied the security guards' routines with obsessive detail. The roaming patrol followed a predictable pattern, checking the same locations every 20 minutes. The VIP terminal guards rotated their cigarette breaks, but always between midnight and 12:30 a.m., and always for exactly 10 minutes. Luis timed these breaks for 6 weeks. The pattern never varied. Most importantly, Luis prepared his exit strategy. He couldn't simply disappear from Miami. That would raise suspicions immediately. Instead, he planned to finish his shift, go home normally, call in sick the next day, and then vanish over the weekend. By the time anyone connected the theft to him, he would be hundreds of miles away. What happened next? Luis waited for the storm and the routine to align. On April 11th, the weather did their work. Lightning knocked out a patch of external lights, and the VIP terminal staff were distracted, hustling to adjust arrivals. The two Americans arrived punctually. The Mexicans counted, smoked, and left 2 duffel bags on the table while they waited for paperwork. Luis watched the clock, then slipped inside the lounge with his cart, as if responding to a spill. The partially closed door masked the sound of his footsteps. The guards were outside, sharing a cigarette and an umbrella. The patrol was on the opposite side of the terminal. He moved like a man, carrying the weight of invisibility itself. He shoved the bags beneath his cart, flattened trash bags across them, and pushed toward the service elevator. The lift hummed. Technicians below ignored the hum. Luis took the long route through maintenance tunnels and out to the employee lot. 4 minutes and 20 seconds, exactly. He loaded the duffels into his Corolla, locked the doors, sat for a minute with his hands on the steering wheel, and then drove into the storm as if he were just another worker heading home. The immediate aftermath. By dawn, the VIP terminal discovered the missing cash. Alarm quickly escalated beyond airport security. Whispers of cartel money prompted calls to federal agents. Surveillance footage was pulled, but the cameras showed a janitor pushing a cart the whole time. He was background noise until someone replayed the feed frame by frame and noticed the unusual lump in the cart. By then, Luis Herrera was gone. The Manhunt, a 3-year search followed. Local PD coordinated with federal agencies and international partners. Cartel operatives threatened airport staff. Anonymous photos showing men staking out former routes circulated. Investigators traced the Toyota Corolla purchase patterns, scoured surveillance from surrounding businesses, and interviewed coworkers and family. They followed every lead: phone records, cash withdrawals, money transfers into Honduras. Each lead either froze into a dead end or raised more questions. Some bank accounts showed sudden deposits, modest enough to avoid federal reporting thresholds, that hinted at someone funneling funds through third parties. None pointed directly at Luis. How the cartel reacted. Word traveled fast in the underworld. The cartel's message was cold and unmistakable. Find who took the money or there would be consequences for those who helped him. That pressure produced hits and false alarms. A middleman in a neighboring state was found with unexplained bruises and a warning to keep silent. But cartels are decentralized and paranoid. Revenge often comes slowly and selectively. It took years for rumor and silence to settle into a landscape where even cartel whispers turned into fear of being a target. Possible theories. Where did Luis go? 1. Left the country immediately, under a false identity arranged through contacts he'd quietly built in the airport economy. Cheap visas, a middleman smuggling him into Central America or beyond. 2. Assumed a new life inside the US, using the cash to build a new identity. New name, new documentation purchased through criminal networks, while staying off the grid. 3. Joined or paid off a protector, someone with connections who hid him in plain sight, moving him between safe houses until the heat cooled. 4. Met a violent end shortly after disappearing, the victim of cartel reprisal. Rumors of a body dumped in a remote location never led to confirmation. What investigators found. Investigators compiled fragments. A payment to a Honduran account large enough to change a family's life, but small enough to look like remittances. A motel receipt in a neighboring state with a name that didn't quite match any ID. A taxi driver's memory of a shaken man who paid with lots of small bills. Each piece painted a possible route, but none completed the portrait. After 2 years, federal interest cooled to occasional check-ins. Local police continued to probe when new tips surfaced. The human cost. Back in Honduras, Maria and Carlos felt the absence like a weather system. Money arrived intermittently in the first months, enough to buy dental work and to patch the holes in their day-to-day, but not the regular lifeline they once knew. The legend of Luis grew. Some called him a hero. Others whispered of a man who gambled with the cartel's wrath. Elena and Roberto faced a doubled life, raising teenagers while lying awake at night, waiting for a knock that never came. Legacy and lessons. The story asks uncomfortable questions. What desperation can make a person accept almost certain danger for a chance at change? How does invisibility function as both oppression and opportunity? The Janitor's Heist rewrites the playbook for small, patient crimes executed by people who no one thinks to watch. Final thoughts. What we still don't know. Did Luis live to see his children finish school? Did he spend his last nights fretting over phone calls and the smell of diesel? Or did he vanish into a new name and new continent, watching from afar as his old life dried up like a mop bucket left in the sun? The truth remains buried in the same storm that hit him that night: half-light, water, and silence. If this story gripped you, hit subscribe right now. We release new deep dives into the world's strangest crimes every week. Smash the like button, leave a comment, what city are you watching from? And ring the bell so you don't miss the episode where we pull back the curtain on the security failures that made this possible. Follow the channel, because some stories don't end, they only get stranger.